This is WCNY's The Capitol Press Room, and we're bringing you an excerpt of today's Dispatches from Planet Albany podcast, where we talked with Jasmine Gripper, head of the New York Working Families Party, a liberal third party in the state, which made headlines earlier this month when they decided not to back a Democratic primary challenge to Governor Kathy Hochul. So I want to start with an autopsy of sorts from the recent WFP state convention and actually begin even before it began. And I'm curious, did the Lieutenant Governor, Antonio Delgado, or someone from his campaign say explicitly or hint at the idea that his campaign for governor would basically have to be abandoned, as we saw it a few days after your convention, if he didn't get the institutional support of your party? Was that message conveyed in any way, shape, or form?
Not at all in that way. We heard aggressively and early from Antonio Delgado. We also heard early and often from, the Kathy Hochul camp. And both were seeking the support of the Working Families Party in their attempts for the endorsement for the upcoming election cycle. And Delgado did a great job of elevating key issues from tax the rich to the New York Health Act, and really choosing his campaign to elevate issues that were really important to our side for a long time, even on immigration, the New York for All. And the governor also engaged in real conversation about, like, what does it mean for someone who's in power to deliver right now for working families? And we saw her announce her investment in childcare, which was a significant investment this year. We heard her announcement on immigration, which is a step in the right direction. And so, we are in a political moment where the conditions are actively changing. The WFP convention had a really spirited and robust debate about both candidates, about the pros and cons of each, and what opportunities laid before us. And in the end, after, that debate, after that conversation, where I think a conversation so genuine like that can't happen in any other space except the Working Families Party. I think we are uniquely positioned to actually allow our process to play out. We didn't have like an overly scripted convention. We had time for arguments and for
Well,
people to.
I mean, I'll have to take your word for it, though, because it wasn't open to the public.
It wasn't open to the public. I mean, we knew it was going to be. We knew it was going to be contentious. We weren't going in unified. Even our officer body, for the first time in a long time, wasn't unified in how to approach this endorsement. And what I will say is everyone at the party was grounded in who we are and what we fight for, which is like we fight to win tangible change on behalf of working families. That is at core our mission. Where folks differed is like what strategy got us closer to that. And so, there was an approach of like, let's challenge from the left. And Delgado's campaign offers an opportunity to do that. And then there were others that say, Kathy Hochul is working towards us. And we are building power more and more each day, but we don't have enough power yet to win a statewide office and take out an incumbent governor. And she's going to be the governor for the next 4 years. And so how do we put ourselves in a posture to negotiate with her? And that allows us to win more for working families. And that was where the debate and the strategy was really in tension.
So let's talk then about the governor. And I want to address a hypothesis that I floated without any sort of sourcing, just my own Machiavellian mind. And this was the idea that the governor or her team may have indicated to the WFP that if you endorsed Delgado in this process and you supported his Democratic primary against her, that she wouldn't run on the WFP line in the fall, essentially denying you that threshold you would need to retain automatic ballot access. Her basically making this gamble that I don't need the WFP to win in New York if the Republican nominee is going to shoot himself in the foot over and over again and we're in a blue midterm wave. So did any conversation like that happen? Was there any hints or allusions to the governor not running on the WFP line in the future?
I want to be clear. We weren't threatened about our ballot line. We
Not a
weren't
threat, a
pressured
promise, a promise.
into anything. If in fact, we know our value. Like, our line is deeply coveted all across the state.
Well, except for those purple communities where Democrats like proactively go out and say, I will not be running on the WFP line.
And what we find is when they do that, they win by if they win,
Mm.
they win by really small margins,
Okay.
and it's still valuable. And I'll just like make it clear: Tom Suozzi in his last election,
You knew who I was talking about.
yeah, and Tom Suozzi, with all the name recognition in the world, I can't even remember the Republican who ran against him, won by his narrowest majority in his career. Where the WFP played a key role in the upstate congressional races, where folks had our line, and in fact, we were the margin of victory for Josh Riley. And so the line is deeply powerful. And the reason why Kathy Hochul is still governor is because the WFP had her on our line and actually did the work to talk to voters to turn out. So, like, we are.
People might have voted for Kathy Hochul on the Democratic line if she didn't have the WFP line.
She was against, again, another no name Republican who made a case for himself and really backed her into the corner. And the race was way more competitive than it should have been. And the party stepped up and did what we had to do to get her elected and to stop Republicans from gaining any foothold in our statewide offices. And so, like, we know our power, we know our leverage. We're not delusional and we don't overestimate our power, but we are clear that we are an asset. And that our line is highly desirable. And the last thing I think this governor wants is that we are fighting for our survival. Because what we did communicate is that we weren't going to go down without a fight. If there's any question about her taking our line, we would put a compelling candidate on our line and we will contend for the votes we need for the WFP survival. And they don't want that either. And so, you know, I do think sometimes people like, Cuomo was in office for so long, and Cuomo was such a bully in New York politics that we assume everyone operates like Cuomo. And I'll give Kathy Hochul credit that, like, she's not Andrew Cuomo, and she's not out here bullying people into compliance. And actually, I thought the approach she took and that her people took was like, where can we meet on the things we agree on, and what can be demonstrated where there's commonality. And we also heard like a willingness to listen to our side and to be in rooms with our people to hear what's happening, to hear their stories. And I think that's going to help continue to shape her politics and how she shows up. And so our folks are like, we want to win. We want to win tangible change. And the person who actually holds the power to like deliver for working peoples right now is Kathy Hochul. And so how do we build a relationship with her so that we can win for our communities? It's not about ego. It's not about, puffed up relationships. It's about delivering for people who are struggling in this moment. And the person who has the most power to help deliver for working people, to relieve the pressure on people's back, to help deliver on the affordability agenda is the governor. And we want to be able to talk to her and move her.
But if this is a kinder, gentler governor who doesn't hold grudges or isn't about political retribution, what's the harm then in supporting Delgado, who on paper clearly aligns with more of the WFP values and thus could be used to hold the governor accountable and potentially leverage more campaign promises, except now
Are you supporting the like there's a good way to lose strategy?
I'm saying
Like
that,
at the end of the day, let's be clear. Like let's be honest. Like Delgado's no longer in the race.
right.
Why? Why did like if his whole race was built on the WFP, like we're proud of our power and our influence, but you need more than the party.
4 years ago, Jumaane Williams ran a campaign solely based on the WFP and got 19% of the
Yeah.
vote. So why was that acceptable 4 years ago and not now?
So let's do a history because we did a history lesson in our convention
Sure.
and leading up to our convention. So one, Zephyr Teach Out was the first time we considered a challenge to the governor. And instead of running Zephyr Teach Out, the party extracted some promises from Cuomo. Cuomo reneged on some of those promises, so we came back and we challenged him with Cynthia Nixon. Cynthia Nixon ran a great campaign, so much so that her and Jumaane almost beat Kathy Hochul for lieutenant governor. But Cynthia had really, I was actually like one of her upstate deputy organizers for that campaign. I remember traveling the state with her and she had clear goals. And we were running Cynthia to win for governor and to like defeat Andrew Cuomo. And we were defeating the IDC and elevating down ballot campaigns. And in the end, even though Cynthia lost, she got 30% of the vote And the party was powerful. We won our down ballot races, right? We defeated the IDC, taking out 6 incumbents, senators in 1 year. That put the party in a really powerful position. Jumani ran, he got, instead of having 30% of the vote, we went down to 18% of the vote. And then on the down ballot races, to be honest, at that time, we got our kicked. We took some big swings and we lost. And what was the result of that? Is like we came to Albany fighting for things and we were in a weaker position. And our threat wasn't taken seriously, and we weren't able in the position to move things. And so we want to grow our power, not shrink it. And so taking weak swings doesn't help us. And so the party really debated, is this the best swing we can take at this moment? I wish we had unlimited resources. I wish everyone was giving to the party, but with limited resources, we have to make priorities. And so we are prioritizing some other races that we think are more valuable for the party's resources and time and capacity, instead of a challenge at a governor who we believe is going to win. And I think it's not just about her winning, it's actively moving in our direction. And so we want to acknowledge that she's attempting to meet us somewhere. Will we get all the way there? That's to be determined. We're still pressuring her and taxing the rich. We haven't let go of those demands, but we are being strategic about our resources. And so swinging to swing is not a powerful position. We are a party that is about strategy and about using our resources well and making the most of every opportunity. And Delgado didn't feel like the best swing we can make in this moment.
And that was an excerpt of our Dispatches from Planet Albany conversation with Jasmine Gripper, the head of the New York Working Families Party. To hear the entire discussion, including the ramification of Jasmine going from co-director to director, and the liberal third party's plans for the state comptroller's Democratic primary, as well as other insider discussions about state government and politics, check out Dispatches from Planet Albany wherever you download your favorite podcasts, or at capitalpressroom.org. Support for the Capitol Press Room comes from O'Donnell & Associates, a public affairs firm providing strategic guidance to businesses and nonprofits on navigating policy and regulatory issues. More information is available at o'donnellsolutions.com.